Hello and good evening, everyone. My name is Pathikrit Pine, and I welcome all of you to another podcast of SPMRF. Today, we have, as usual, a very great and a very prominent guest with us, who is a very well known face in Indian television today in areas of geopolitics. I welcome wholeheartedly somebody who is also a mentor to many like me, Major General Sudhakar ji, sir. And he had a very illustrious career in Indian Army, has been the colonel of Mahar Regiment. Today, he is very well known in areas of defense and geopolitical analysis to discuss various aspects of modernization of the Indian armed forces over the last 10 years and how he perceives it to go along in the next 5 years of Modi government 3.0. We would discuss with him. Sir, I thank you, first of all, Pranam, and I thank you with all my humility for giving time for this, talk show that we arrange on behalf of Dr. Shama Prasad Mukherjee Research Foundation.
Thank you very much, Pratikrit. I'm really humbled the fact that a man of your intellect and deep insight into call it geopolitics or economics or any technical field, the way you clinically, analyze and come out with remarkable assessments and give out the roadmaps. I found your articulations, your depth of knowledge is profound and by far the best in Indian mainstream
Thank
channel.
you.
Heartiest
Thank
congratulations. I have also along the west coast of America, I've gone around, told many people about you. So
thank
great
you.
going and my blessings and good wishes with you. And thank you
Thank
for having selected or picked me up. I hope I'm penny's worth. I can contribute to your very noble venture that you have started, or maybe you may be very deep into it. And I hope I can contribute in a significant manner.
Sir, you are like a pioneer and a torchbearer for all of us, and that's why we seek guidance. And that's the reason we would have this interesting conversation today. So, if you permit, I may start with some of the
Yes, yes.
questions.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yes,
I'll share to the best
yes.
of my capability and understanding and knowledge.
Thank you, sir. So, over the last 10 years of Modi government, we have seen major efforts have been made towards modernization of the Indian armed forces, and not just the big ticket acquisitions of, say, a Rafale or the S-400 air defense system, or the acquisition of light combat aircraft. We have also seen efforts being made to ensure the safety of the infantry soldier, starting from acquisition of bulletproof jackets, bulletproof helmets, even the assault rifle that had been an issue for a long time. So, how do you look at it? The modernization efforts. Also, the chief of staff, rank position was institutionalized. Efforts have been made for creation of private services command, integrated commands. How do you look at it? The journey in the last 10 years, in terms of purely, in terms of military modernization, vis-a-vis the challenges that we have. Over to you, sir.
Patikrit, excellent question. And keeping in view the time frame that is available to us, I would try to be as brief as possible to the point. First and foremost, before I give you or respond to your question, we need to understand the meaning of modernization and the type of threat India is posed with. The meaning of modernization, ladies and gentlemen, essentially it has got three goals. And these three goals is to enhance or to improve the defense preparedness of the country so that we can beat any kind of challenges, be it the external or the internal turbulence or the instability. Also, at the same time, be in support of the civil government whenever ordered or sought or asked for in aid to civil authority, whether it is disaster management, law and order situation, once it goes beyond the threshold of the civil administration and the civil police. The third and most important thing, as far as the modernization is concerned, Patikrit, is a very important and significant component. And that significant component, to my understanding and knowledge, is that we need to revitalize. Threat is not 1 day or 2 days. Any country which is expecting itself to be in a global committee of nations in a long-term perspective like India, say 2047, we would like to have a rightful place in the global the ladder. So, with that kind of ambition, which our present dispensation and the Honorable Prime Minister is the first one, let me tell you. He's the first one who has given a kind of a long-term perspective. To the best of in my lifetime, I have heard the first Prime Minister giving a long-term perspective. We need to revitalize the acquisition and the procurement policy. We need to identify what is the big end, the end state we are looking at. We need to refine our procedures. We need to evolve our standing operating procedures. Unfortunately, 10 years prior to the preceding, these 10 years that we are talking of, it was all fraught with corruption, number of cases, investigation going on. The procurement was fraught with bribes given here and there, and as a result, there was a spillover. Cost factor was getting carried forward. Cost overruns. By the time the equipment came, it had already outlived the utility, three-fourths of the utility. So likewise, but this 10 years, there has been a remarkable shift in the very concept of acquisition. Firstly, I haven't seen or come across or heard anything about corruption. The dealings, the procurement procedures have been streamlined to large an extent. There are still lacunas which merit some kind of an improvement. And we have gone in for acquiring a product in a very decisive mode and after due deliberation. So it is all need-based. This is as far as the modernization is concerned. But now for the viewers, the type of topic that you have selected, it's a very serious topic, by the way. And not a common anchor would select a topic like this. Our viewers need to understand what is the armed forces meant for. The basic, I know it's a fundamental question I am raising before I come to the main part of your question. The armed forces, ladies and gentlemen, may be at the cost of reputation or revision, or maybe at the cost of duplication. I would say I would do well if I can convey this to the common man who's listening. The first and foremost thing, the requirement or the objective of armed forces is to assert its territorial integrity. And the second and most important thing is to ensure that any external aggression is beaten or it is actually defeated. We have to defend the borders of our country. The third and most important thing I have already shared is that we need to support the civil government whenever required, whenever we are asked to provide aid to civil authority. These are the three important goals of any kind of armed forces anywhere in the world, primarily, I would say, in our country. Having said that, in last 10 years, particularly, there have been major departures from the preceding period of our independence, say the past 64 years prior to the 2014. The things that have taken place in 2014 to 2024. There are huge lists I was trying to draw out from the internet. It's no point giving out all the details. But essentially, I would say there is an international think tank March 2024 trends in International Arms Transfer Report, which is highlighted that India's arms imports have increased by 4.7% between 2014 to 18 and 2019 to 23. Today, India is the largest importer. Although we are talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, which we'll tackle separately, but it's very important for me to highlight that India continues to be the highest importer of the arms in the world, followed by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and likewise, there are many other countries. You have Ukraine, you have Pakistan, Japan, Egypt is there, Australia, South Korea, China, etc. These are the top 10 importers in the world. But essentially, the main country which has been providing us with very credible, reliable, and dependable supply chain of the hardware and the spare part has been Russia. Way back sometime in 2009 to 13, the percentage brings to me is apart from this the statistics which I have shared, the major component of either import or transfer of technology or co-production and co-designing, co-production or joint production primarily goes for the AK-47. It has been replaced by latest weapon system from Russia, which is called as AK-203 assault rifle. There are a total of 670,000 plus rifles to be manufactured jointly in India. Now, out of this 670,000, 70,000 are already in service. The second batch of 27,000, I am told by reliable people, also in open media, they have been delivered. The third batch of 8,000 are on the way. It should be delivered very soon to India. I'm also told by people who are dealing with the subject that this 27,000 and 8,000 are produced in the factory which has come up near Amethi. So these are the issues, and it's at a cost. So, and this is a remarkable achievement, collaborated with Russia. Second and most important thing, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to highlight is that there is a contract which has been signed also with Russia. This is, I have already covered about the technology transfer. 31 armed MQ-9B, which is very current and contemporary issue. We have gone in for, prior to this 31 armed MQ-9B Sky Guardians, there were 3 of them which had come to India under trial in the Indian Navy. Successful inputs have been obtained at the cost of 3.9 billion US dollar. These are being procured, and also joint production will take place. Technology transfer also has been assured. Next is the 26 Rafale M fighters. These are all very big ticket procurement, but in your preamble, you give out a very important thing. What about the infantry soldier? Ladies and gentlemen, the kind of weapons and equipments which have come in for the infantry soldier, the list is endless. My own research in past 2 days has actually, I filled up 6 pages. So it is not beneficial to read out all the text, but what I'm saying is the fundamental requirement of an infantry soldier on the ground, dictated by the threat he is facing today, are being addressed more than adequately. I myself am an infantryman. I have been in the Kashmir Valley. I have seen the kind of insurgency or terrorism along the line of control, along the line of actual control, opposite the Chinese side. So there has been a significant improvement. For example, let me share, there is a missile called a Spike missile. This Spike missile was imported from Israel a couple of years back, and we played very hell with Pakistan. We decimated the Pakistan built-up areas along the line of control, consequent to which they came on their knees and pleaded for ceasefire along the line of control. So since 2021, if I recall, February 1st, there is a kind of a ceasefire along the line of control. So Spike missiles from Israel, there are many things, from Bulgaria, from Belgium, also France, and many, Spain. People may not be knowing that C-295 aircraft, transport aircraft, which has come, I think 56 have already reported. They are being assembled in India as well. And a fly down mode, 16 of them have come initially. And now, based on the letter of request, I think the figure is touching 71. This aircraft was to replace the Avro aircraft, which has been with us in 60s. So likewise, so there is a constant upgradation of the equipment which is available with us, as also the latest state-of-the-art equipments after extensive deliberation, refined procedures are being gone in for procurement in order to make the Indian Armed Forces formidable. It is not only infantry. You talk about the Navy, you talk about the Air Force. So, and also the joint production. Let me just list out 3 of them at least, if not all. The list is almost about 21. 6 new generation diesel electric submarines at the cost of 43,000 crores under joint production. With whom? With Scorpion, that is the France. Germany is also chipping in. Like 111 armed twin engine utility naval choppers at the cost of rupees 21,000. This was in the June 2024, the latest report which is coming floating around. Third is the 114 4.5 new generation multi-role fighter aircraft at the cost of rupees 1.25 lakh crores. So likewise, you have P-75 India submarine proposal, which was conceived in the year 1997, came into being or being put into effect in 1999. Thereafter, there has been a cost overrun, there has been a delay in implementation. However, in fits and starts, I would say it has taken off. There is some humble beginning towards that end. Similarly, RT acquisition. We have gone in or going in for acquiring 400 RT guns of 155 millimeter. The total requirement is 1,200 guns by our Indian Army artillery. So it is under the collaboration or the joint production, which is actually going in for the L&T, the Bharat Forge, and we have the Tata Defense. All of them are coming together and going in for at the cost of 6,000 crore. Likewise, we have LCH, we have Prachand, which we'll discuss later. So today, as things stand, the momentum is so well built, the thread being what it is. I do not think, to the best of my understanding and assessment, this is going to die down in the effort of the leadership and adequate funds and directions, and also involvement will be there to make sure that the Indian armed forces are able to address the threats along the western, northern border. Northern border is already witnessing an extended standoff. The proxy war, the revival of the proxy war towards the south of Pir Panjal ranges, and the K2 concept. There is a K2 desk in Pakistan under ISI, which is popping up its head off and on between Kashmir and Punjab. Similarly, towards the Red Corridor and the secessionism and the insurgency towards Northeast. And also the coastline and Indian Ocean region, the strategic rivalry is on. So therefore, I would say India is well poised and very comprehensively taking all steps to actually effectively address all threats from all sides. Back to you, please.
Right, sir. You have very beautifully explained and enumerated some of the key big ticket acquisitions. If you permit, I may just add that there have also been a very significant number of Apache helicopters, a lot of artillery like M777. You had this K9 Vajra, so tactical transport helicopters like the Chinook, and many other similar acquisitions across the spectrum, or a large augmentation of Akash squadrons, the BrahMos squadrons, tactical missiles like Pralay have now been deployed. So a lot of efforts have been made. In fact, also the anti-satellite missile was, given the go-ahead. Its testing happened. So, and you also mentioned about the 26 Rafale, in addition to the 36 already acquired, which might be acquired in the recent future for the aircraft carrier, which will be for the Rafale Marine version for Indian Navy. So overall, as you rightly mentioned, that we generally think that the momentum will continue. Also connected to that, we also witnessed one thing, that in the realm of Atmanirbharta, many of the weapon systems which are in the medium to low ticket category, not, I would not say low category, but which are easier to be absorbed in terms of technology, we have already started that process. For example, a lot of loitering munitions and drones, almost 2,000 of them, have been acquired by the armed forces. Very recently, there's an organization called Solar Industries. They came out with an explosive, which is SEBEX, which is one of the largest non-nuclear explosive. So a lot of those things are happening, maybe silently. It doesn't create such resonance, but we see a very concerted effort being made by the government to create what you call a defense industrial ecosystem within the country,
Yeah.
while ensuring that in the immediate medium to short term, there is no shortage of weapon systems, and that's the reason imports at times still continue. So, how do you look at it? The balancing aspect of it and gradual creation of this military industrial complex, which is also a critical part of the economy in terms of job and creation and contribution to the economy.
Patikrit, excellent question you have asked. And I would say the present dispensation has, in Modi 1.0, Modi 2.0, now Modi 3.0, they have, in a very professional manner, balanced out the acquisition, that is the import, and the indigenous production. The indigenous productions, whichever are possible within our country, are being done, undertaken by our own professionals, and the ones which we have to import the technology, for example, the G414 engine, because that is a very, very central equipment required for our aircrafts, as also helicopters, and also for other equipments and projectiles. Similarly, uh, I would say, as per my assessment, the government has taken up the steps of Atmanirbhar Bharat in a very excellent manner. A few factors which are coming to my mind is that the collaborative effort, while on one hand is going down with Russia, the dependency has come down from 76 to 36%. With the US, it has started rising to 13%. There are some major agreements which have signed, because as we all know for the viewers, that prior to 2000, the relationship, as per my understanding, with USA was a kind of a regressive kind of relationship. Post 2000, I would say the relationship has been a very progressive one. And it is that post 2000, the progressive phase, which is marked with very important agreements with US. Talk about 2002, the first agreement, sharing of intelligence. Thereafter, Comcasa, thereafter, Limoa, thereafter, you have BECA, then you have the initiative
The
on critical
NPCR was
technology.
also signed.
Yeah, these agreements are very, very vital. One of the important ones is the BECA, because our viewers may not be knowing. This agreement, it entitles to the recipient, like India, to be shared with such inputs which even the NATO members are not entitled. It enhances the precision capability of your projectile to hit the target. Okay, so that kind of information and the details are being provided by USA to us, and it is Baker. Okay, so similarly, the initiative on critical technologies that I am talking of, this itself has got huge potential. If we can collaborate, the transfer of technology can actually adopt a very easier path, smoother path to pick up momentum and bring US India further closer than what it is today. You talk about the Predator drones, NQ. This is a drone which is not given to the best of the NATO friends of USA. It is being given, and they have already given indications. Now we are talking about the Striker, as also the Javelin anti-aircraft, anti-tank missile system. They want to jointly produce in India. Also, you brought out very nicely the other aspect. See, there are some important steps which government of India has also taken, keeping in mind the threats which are manifesting towards, not only towards the northern border, but also in the recent past. There are lessons which are coming our way. We are picking up from Russia-Ukraine war. The space has become predominant in today's conflict. Gone are the days when we used to talk about the short and swift war. The Ukraine-Russia war, when it started, people are under the impression it will finish up in 7 to 15 days' time. Now it is, look at the time. So for that, not only the defense industrial base has to be stronger, you have to have the raw material available to produce ammunition. Today, the world over, there is an acute shortage of ammunition. Similarly, the tank warfare and the infantry warfare, which one had thought earlier, because India, the subcontinent, although we are very progressive, armed forces, we are very forward. Yet, in a tactical level, we tend to get driven by the 20th century dogmas of our operational capability. We need to look at, we need to realize that we are in the 21st century. 21st century, we have a non-state actor. They have demonstrated the capability how to black out the electromagnetic spectrum from 6:30 in the morning on 7th October to 6:55. They have employed all the resources from multi-dimensions, air, ground, across the fencing, and the space. They have gone about 24 to 28 kilometers deep into the Israel, attacked the headquarters. They have hijacked the people, Israelis. Look at the capability, blacking out the the electromagnetic spectrum. Some of the professional armies in the world do not have this capability. We are talking about the Hamas or non-state activity. So what does it mean? That it means that the non-state actor and the conventional forces are gradually getting fused. Iran may be sitting 1,800 kilometers away, but without the support of Iran, perhaps the Hamas wouldn't have dared. And whatever they have done it right under the nose of the Iron Dome and the Israelis. Number two, which is standing out, is the complacency, taking things for granted. Israel always thought that technology will give a better off result than the human resource on the ground. Sorry, it has been actually proved wrong. So therefore, what it brings to me is that these kind of lessons are coming out. The kind of capabilities actually, bring to the fore the requirement which Indian structures and the organizations, the doctrine have to undergo change, as also the indigenous capability to produce the following things. Firstly, we need to be dependent on our own industry, defense industry. Second, there is a requirement of integrated rocket force like the China has. Third, we need to actually look into the following issues. First and foremost is the cyber capability, which government of India, they conceived the idea in 2017. They have gone in to create the first organization, and now it is picking up momentum in foreseeable future. I'm very sure we'll develop the offensive capability. Second is the electromagnetic radiation spectrum. This is one thing which we need to develop because China is miles ahead of it. Third, we need to have the autonomous support system on the space that China is mastered in. China has got much more number of miniature to very advanced and big-sized UAVs, which are operational and effective on ground. And next, we need to focus also on the Indian Navy, because our Indian Navy area of responsibilities, the sphere of influence is expanding now from Persian Gulf in the west. It has gone up to Mediterranean, and in the east from Malacca Strait, it is already touched Philippines or South China Sea. So we all need to focus on this. However, my only one issue comes on to the central point. The research and development today in India is 0.65% of the total GDP. If you compare with other countries, developed countries, they always have, like Israel has got 6% of the GDP, South Korea 5.21, China 2.64, Japan is 3.65, USA 3.4, Taiwan is 3.96, Russia is 1.1. What it brings to me is that we have started in a fantastic manner, but we need to look into this aspect much more seriously and see how best we can increase our R&D percentage. And last but not the least is to highlight the aspect of the participation of the private sector. In all the developed countries which are having effective armed forces or strong armed forces, they have anything between 70 to 80% of the participation of the private sector, as against 35% in India. We need to do something, apply ourselves, bring in the private sectors into the defense industry to be more effective and more productive. Back to you, Pratik.
Right, so you have raised a very pertinent issue, but I think this time the budget, in the interim budget, there was a mention of 1 lakh crore, which is being earmarked for defense tech research. So I think some steps, at least
Have
baby
been
steps
taken.
in the right direction. And there is something which, interestingly, the Ministry of Defense has started through DRDO, perhaps something called Innovation for Defense Excellence, where we find a lot of startups are working on certain key technologies. And just to share this information, almost 350 contracts have been signed by Ministry of Defense, the armed forces, and these small startups for some indigenization of certain critical. Some of them may be low key, but some of them are pretty interesting contracts. So yes, you are right. It's a long journey, but some baby steps we see happening. Sir, I want to ask a very interesting issue where we witness that whenever we are on the cusp of indigenizing a particular platform, you see a foreign company or a country suddenly offering the same thing, so that we don't do that. For example, there is this always this trade-off between that striker which is being offered by United States vis-a-vis the Tata WAP which you already have. So how do you, and of course at times there are these geopolitical balancing that you have to do. um, Sometimes you have to, for the time being, keep certain countries in good humor while doing your Atmanirbharta, which is being done on a serious note and is being done sincerely. So how do you balance that?
balancing act is a very act of, I would say, a lot of professional acumen, as also, I would say it should be driven by the national interest.
Yes.
In a way, India has conveyed its intention in a very, very effective manner, at least the past 10 years. And now it's going on doing it. Our strategic autonomy has been very significantly conveyed not only to our countrymen, but also to the world, whether it is procurement of the oil, gas from Russia, or taking independent decisions. Look at Chabahar port. Despite all sanctions, we have gone ahead. We have signed a contract for 10 years. Look at our proactiveness in going in for in G20. IMEC is not an easy project from the conception point of view as also implementation. We are telling the world that we are not lame duck sitting here in the subcontinent, but we are fanning out. And it is not, yes, we have our national interest, but equally important is also how to take the world along with us. Progress by alone, the India itself is no progress. It has to be shared with the other people. So that is a very important thing. But as far as your question is concerned, I personally feel there will be lots of lure, lot of distraction, like the striker you have mentioned. Similarly, been told javelin is also a distraction another way. Okay, so and there are 4, 5 more which are also coming up. I have been told not to disclose by my friend. So they are doing their bit to actually, take India onto the lap. India is doing very well. Now the visit of Prime Minister to Russia is going to clarify a lot of issues, and settle things for good in India's favor. Doesn't mean that we do not require USA. USA requires India much more than we require USA. That should be very clear. Otherwise, people like Pannu should not be creating bloody problem for us. I think it's about time to keep this aspect. Nizar, Pannu, such like characters must be kept at the central point when you are dealing with a country like US. Back to you, Patrick.
Yes, sir. And you are absolutely right. Government has almost earmarked 4,000 components and subcomponents within the defense arena, which have to be mandatorily made in India, and all kinds of weapon systems, missiles, even including the recent list, which includes the fighter aircraft as well. So, which is a very interesting and a very good step in the right direction. Also, sir, something which might interest you the most. We also see a very positive step being taken by the armed forces itself in terms of encouraging their own officers to come up with their own ideas and create weapon system. Colonel Bansod and his Asmi rifle,
Yeah.
the submachine gun, it's a wonderful product. And one of my very good friend who is a journalist has used it in demonstration. He has witnessed it. It's a classic case of armed forces proving that they are the best innovator when it comes to weapon systems that they are supposed to use. So I think it's a great step by the armed forces. How do you look at it? And do you see it is being spread across in other areas as well?
Absolutely. The present Chief of the Army Staff, General Upendra Dev, since we are together in Indian military that he has his years, he's one person who has been encouraging the people from the grassroots level. Everyone to have an innovation in his hand. So look at the kind of a participative movement which has been inducted, or which has been triggered inside the armed forces, or at least Indian Army. Because India is the country which discovered zero. India is the country which discovered almost everything in the world. So if you look back in history, so in times ahead, I personally feel it will take little time. We have started off little late, but I'm very sure we are going to be miles ahead, putting every developed country or the leading economies in innovations behind us in times ahead. I'm very confident that the humble steps which have been initiated in order to encourage our own people to come up with creative ideas. This itself, in India, we have the prospective directorate in the Indian Army, so as the Air Force. They also have a system to encourage such kind of people to come up with ideas, facilitate their, converting ideas, translating them into projects and models, and thereafter operationalizing them. So that's a very good initiative. I think we should get going, and India, the Prime Minister himself is actually, supporting such kind of ideas. Yeah.
Wonderful, sir. Last question. Given the dimension of of threats that we see across coming from the immediate neighborhood and the distant neighborhood, what else and what would be your suggestion to the government in terms of what else should be done in addition to all in terms of military acquisition, economic strengthening, resilience development that is being done right
Your questions are actually indicative of a fact as if you have been tutored or
now?
thought quite deep into the subject.
Somebody like you who has been in army for 40 years and has been in the
Yeah,
forefront. So, any suggestion
okay.
from your end is valuable.
These are my views, sir. Views kindly. I don't intend advancing it for antagonizing anybody. First and foremost thing, anything that we think of is introducing for the progress and development of the army. The army is a very serious business. Army, Air Force, and Navy. They are the last bastion of national security. There is nothing beyond this. So anything new we think of introducing into the existing system, it should be validated either by means of a pilot project. The first and foremost thing I'm saying is Agniveer should be thought through, deliberated, lacunas, if any, or anomalies should be correctly identified, or long-term perspective of the idea should be applied and then implemented. One. Number two, all great powers in the world, they have got armed forces. By and large, you will find all the great powers of the countries base their national security paradigm in form of writing. It's about time that India formulates its national security strategy
Absolutely.
and converts it to a document. We do not have a formal document as of today because this is going to bring in a lot of synergy between stakeholders. It will also tell the world what is the intention. You and me, who keep appearing in the TV news or TV channels, we know that it had never an intention of capturing a piece of ground and retaining it. We have never done it historically, and we'll never do it. It is not there in our blood. We are as much interested for peace as a NATO force army is. However, our is at risk because the type of threat which is surrounding country, we need to do everything to ensure sovereignty of the nation. So, two. Third thing I wish to share or suggest is that we need to keep in mind the following issues. They are equally applicable for the armed forces because economy will only thrive and prosper provided there is a safety, there is a security in the continent, the subcontinent in the country. So the most important point that comes to my mind is that we need to keep in mind HR components. We have a huge youth bulge. Disciplining this youth bulge or utilizing this youth bulge of 65% of the population is not the responsibility of the Indian armed forces. Everyone has a role to play. Even the CAPF has, the VSM has a role to play, and CP also has a role. Think about taking these people under the concept of Agniveer or some other name. It could be a different name. Try out this method. Fourth point is keep the following aspects in the back of our mind. Application of AI, application of the autonomous and semi-autonomous platform, application of the blockchain and in the security paradigm, application of, I would say, energy storage in the security paradigm, joint logistics. I know there is a thing which is lagging behind, the integrated theater command, because of varying perceptions, inter-services differences. I think the time has come. We need to put our individual services differences aside for the larger good of national security. We need to come together and implement it for once for all. Let's make a beginning. America took almost 50 years, 1905, they came out with the idea of integrated theater command or theaters. It came into being in 1955. It took almost about 50 years. Even after that, there are lots of, I would say, inter organizational rivalry which is going on. we'll still have it. It is better to start a thing which need has been established long time back in Kargil committee, as also prior to that, Subramanian committee has brought out, group of ministers have already emphasized that. We need to actually put that into effect for larger good as early as possible. And last but not the least is that until the borders are settled, borders, I'm highlighting flag, borders, northern border and the western borders are settled, meaning we need to do anything and everything, regardless of the idiosyncrasy of the adversaries, to both the directions. We need to actually apply ourselves, come out with pragmatic ideas, and make sure that in foreseeable future we settle the border like the way we have settled with Bangladesh. It will be prudent to actually, by the process of give and take, as is where is basis, negotiate and settle it so that the Jawans on the ground, they know after which point they are supposed to go on patrolling, and they will fight tooth and nail, give the best that they have in them. There is no element of ambiguity in the performance or discharge of the responsibility on the ground. Best, I leave it to you. We have remarkable achievements in the technological field. Our NAVIC, that is better than GPS. GPS gives you 5-meter accuracy, whereas a NAVIC is giving 3 meters accuracy. Recently, we have developed the MI multiple independent
MIRV.
MIRV thing for the Agni 5. This is actually put us in an elite club in the world, and also it has given jitters to China. Nobody dare take any action against India as long as we keep improving our capability technologically. But at the same time, we need to make everything sustainable and progressive. Because if the momentum dies out by virtue of lack of attention leadership in the dispensation, then perhaps will be the biggest danger happening to the national security than otherwise. That's all. If you have any particular question, you can guide.
Yeah, so I think the Prime Minister has made it very clear that in the next 5 years, the continuity of the reform process, including modernization of armed forces, will continue unabated. I think the legacy of the work that was to be done, so much of backlog was there for so many decades that some of the work might take a little time or is taking a little time. Yes, fine tuning is necessary when some new concepts are introduced, but I'm sure eventually the best interest will be kept in mind and everything in according to the priorities of national security and the armed forces will be done. Thank you so much, sir. On that note, it was great having this conversation with you, and I personally learned quite a few things. It is always a an engrossing moment to gather wisdom from you, and given the kind of experience and knowledge that you have. Thank you so much.
Thank
It
you.
was honor to take your interview.
Same here,
Thank you so much.
Patikrit. In fact, you know much more than what I know. So I also can
No,
learn
sir.
from you. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to engage with you. Thank you so much. Wish you all the very best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
See you.